Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Youthman. Today, we're not in my home theater. We're in my friend Matt Morman from Obsessed Garage. We're going to be checking out his really cool home theater, but he's also got some other cool stuff that we're going to check out later in the video. So, with that said, Matt, tell us a little bit about you and your channel and what we're going to be looking at today.
So I've been watching this guy for a while on YouTube. I started making YouTube videos in like 2014, just out of, it was like therapy. And I'm a bit of a loner, and I just started setting up the camera and inviting people into my garage. And so what we do is I make videos, just whatever's of interest to me. Home theater is a huge interest of mine. I've made several home theater videos, but mostly cars and detailing and tools and flooring and lighting, anything to do with the garage. And now it's become like this business.
Right.
I used to work for a big Wall Street firm, and that became such an inconvenience to making videos, and now that's what I do all day. So we make videos, and then I curate products from all over the world, and we sell those to people when they're asking for my advice on what they should use to, clean their car or polish their paint. That's what we do all day.
Sure. And he's got some really cool cars, so.
Yeah, I have a 911, a 991.2, which is the current version of a GT3 RS, Porsche 911 GT3 RS. I just got a Porsche Cayman GT4. I have an E92 M3. I have my 2000 Honda Civic Si I just bought and spent $1 zillion on. That was the car I had when I was 20.
Nice.
I'm 40 now.
Right.
And then I have a Gen 1 Raptor, and I just bought a Model 3. So something's got to go. The Civic's going in a raffle. I might sell the M3. I can't handle too many cars. It makes, they all have to be clean, and so it drives me crazy.
Nice. Thus the Obsessed Garage. So
the obsessed part, unfortunately, is like a real curse.
Yeah.
That I struggle with, like real medically diagnosed obsessive compulsive disorder, and I have to manage that. Like even in our conversation, I'll have to manage that when we're talking about things. But the byproduct is that I get to put nice things together.
Right.
And there's an advantage to that. And that's where the home theater kind of comes in. I love the gear. I like the gear more than I like watching the darn movies. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I like buying the 4K Blu-ray disc more than I like
enjoying it and just hanging out with it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a curse. That's a curse.
Sure. And I know we had a little bit of conversation on that, even just kind of before we started the video, and how in a way you and I are similar, because I love the journey.
Yeah.
I'm not so interested in the end result. I've enjoyed the process over the past 14 years that I've been developing my home theater and getting to know people in their home theaters, and just that pursuit. I think that's fun. I have a blast doing that.
I agree with you. That's my favorite part. The problem is that I live in the destination.
Gotcha.
So I constantly, we'll talk about this theater here today, but I'm struggling with, this is beautiful and people would kill for this, but it's not right because I'm living in that perfection.
Gotcha.
And so that's part of the reason why I never really get to enjoy it. Even though I love the journey,
right.
I have a hard time recognizing that at times, and I'm stuck in that. What's the end result going to be? And then, you know many people that when this happens, you get to the result and you're already on to the next thing. You never get to enjoy it. So I have to spend a lot of time focusing on that. The journey is the fun part. I've done a lot better with this. We have some things that I need to tweak.
Sure.
But I haven't stressed out. As I get older, I get a little less stressed out about things not working or lightning striking or something like that.
Nice. Well, definitely one of the things that I love doing home theater tours is I just try to give my audience just a different perspective on decisions that you've made in your home theater, even just showing size and dimensions so that you at home, as you're watching this video, you can think, okay, I've got a similar space. I've got a similar size. Oh, he went with this, and I could see that in my home, and just kind of giving some inspiration to that. And hopefully you just find some entertainment value out of this as well. And so let's just dive right in. We're going to look at this home theater. We've also got some stuff in his home he's going to share with us. And then we might even take a trip over to Obsessed Garage and check that out as well. So let's jump right into it.
Cool. So when I bought this house, I moved in, and I wanted to turn this room into like your most amazing dedicated theater. And the original plan was I'm going to build a room inside of a room, do a double stud wall, and do U channels and what's that? With the, not green board. What's the fancy board? The acoustic. They have like that 1-inch thick drywall, and I was going to block off the window and frame this out. And then reality sets in. We were talking about this earlier. You have to do something at some point. And so I decided to orient the room the way it's set up. And so you have 16 this way and 18 long ways. So at least it's not square. And my dream always was, I worked for Sound Advice back in the day in college, and when I graduated, I worked there for about 5 years, sold and designed home theater, and we did all these tiered seating arrangements. I always just wanted a really comfy couch and ridiculous audio, and I think we've accomplished that in here. I just recently put a projector in. We'll talk about the woes there. But this is a Lazy Boy Devon couch. The main reason is I really didn't build the theater for my friends. I built it for me. And so I lay right in the middle and try to put my head lined up right with the center channel, and then like kind of tuck my ear to the side so I can hear as well as possible. But the concept was to put a couch in here, and I realized it probably needs to be off the wall, so it's about 2.5 feet off the wall. And so the setup is 7, I guess technically .1, even though I have 4 subwoofers. Everybody wants to say .4, but 7.1.4. So I have the 4 overhead, height channels, the Dolby Atmos setup. And so the projector was a new thing. Forgive me, because I know most of you watching the Youthman channel love the, I guess, the experience you get from a projector, but I'm a bit of a videophile, and I like a direct view display. And I've been adamantly against projectors, and for myself, I get why you guys like them, and I woke up one morning and said, you know what, I'm going to do a projector. It's going to be great. And I'm at a place in my life where I could, for the first time, hire somebody. And I probably shouldn't do that because I'm not the best person to hire someone. I kind of need to get in it. And so I hired somebody in it. I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but we made some tweaks. It's operational, but as I'm sure many of you can relate, your home theater's never really done. And so what we have is the Sony VPL-VW 695 ES. I wanted a JVC NX9. But I got talked into the Sony, and there are pros and cons to both. I'm sure most of you guys watching this know more than I would. But LCD, true native 4K. This I think is a little bit more turnkey than a JVC can be software-wise, and so it's on a strong mount. Notice still haven't patched the ceiling yet, but the strong mount, we had to bring it down as much as possible because I'm a stickler for, I don't want to look up. I want to sit on the couch and have my eyeballs right in the center of the screen, right? And so I didn't want the screen up high, and so we had to keep getting longer and longer extension poles so we wouldn't have keystone issues. But I originally did a Screen Innovations. This was when I hired the company. I let them spec the screen. I shouldn't have done that because they didn't know how particular I was. But I got a 1.4 gain, was it called the Black Diamond? And the problem with that, I didn't even know this existed because my projector days were back in Runcos and 40p scalers, and they had sparkle. It's driving me freaking crazy, and I'm sitting there trying to watch a movie, and a bright scene would come on, and it'd be like a rainbow sparkle effect. And so then the company let me swap it, and I think that screen was like $5,500 or something like that. And I decided I was going to get a Stewart Firehawk or maybe Greyhawk. Until I realized that those are, the off-axis viewing is probably not going to work with the way my couch is set up. And so I was nervous about this, but I chose to do a Studio Tech 100, which is a unity gain screen. Of course, the problem with the unity gain screen, and many of you are going to yell at me here, I wanted to see how it worked with the gray walls, But the plan next would be to do Richardson. What's that black paint? It's like the blackest of black, where I was going to do the Richardson black paint in this area. But I found that it's really not as reflective as you'd think. And so the screen needs some tweaking. Any of you who have ever bought a screen know that the most important part is getting it square. So it's been on my list. I just haven't gotten it done yet. It's driving me crazy. But there's a little wonk there in the corner that I need to try to fix. I need to take it off the wall, and again, I let the techs do it, and you know how that goes. So 120-inch, 2.35 to 1. I don't know, you guys. I mean, wouldn't it make sense to do a 2.4 to 1 screen? Because it still doesn't quite fit, and this is the battle of, do I do 16 by 9? Do I do 2.35 to 1? Do I do 2.4 to 1? Do I try to get a special custom-made screen done? I'm always battling with trying to get it to fit the darn screen. That was the one thing that I really didn't want to deal with getting a projector, and it's part of the game. And do you spend $10,000 and get some crazy masking system or something nuts? It's hard to stomach. I know many of you just build a screen or paint the wall a certain color. I'm not really that handy, so I think that I had to buy something fancy like the Stewart screen. But that's been the frustration, is dealing with. And then I had keystoning, and I didn't realize the projector just wasn't level, and all these issues. So we'll show you in a minute, but the projector setup. So originally I had a 77 OLED, which I got in all kinds of trouble on YouTube and not having a big enough TV to match all the speakers. And so I had a big giant, like one of my favorite pieces of furniture, big Restoration Hardware, 120-inch long credenza. And I had the C208 center channel in there. Obviously, that's not preferential for sound. I had a JTR 4000 ULF in the corner.
What is it?
That's the sub. Those are the woofers that make the bass.
How loud is that?
We're about to find out. It's big, isn't it?
Uh-huh. So it has to be louder than the whole wide world. How about we test it out how loud it is today?
That's what we're about to do.
Yeah! Yeah!
And I decided when I was doing the projector, the main reason I wanted to do the projector was so I could get rid of the credenza. I'd put a rack through the wall, and then I could get my center channel out into the room. I could get my subwoofers inside the front stage, and that was a real benefit because it does sound considerably better having it set up that way. So audio-wise, it's powered by, or driven by, a Yamaha CXA 5200. I'm a sucker for experts in my life, and so I convinced Jeff Meyer just before he retired from AccuCal to fly down here and calibrate my system. I'm struggling here, you know. I am obsessive compulsive, and we ran the wires and ran it to the peak of the roof, and as luck would have it, lightning struck and blew up my CXA 5200 that Jeff calibrated, and I lost all my settings, and blew up the projector 2 days after getting it. So it's operational now, but the Yamaha CXA 5200 was his recommendation. I had a Marantz AV8802A, which I have in the other room now. And his preference is that this is more, it holds phasing and holds, he said there was an issue on the Marantz with when you do manual calibration that there's some phasing issues with it. I'm not explaining it properly, but I think the Yamaha sounds considerably better than the Marantz. The Marantz sounds a little thinner to me. So Yamaha CXA 5200, I like the Japanese preamps. They just work better. You know, there's a lot of fancy, you know, Lexicon and Krell and all the fancy stuff, but these tend to be state-of-the-art, and so I always stick with the Japanese stuff. And then I did two, I was going to get some Emotiva stuff, and the place I was dealing with talked me into, well, you can get similar performance and it can get me a better deal on some Sunfire. These are TGA 7201's 2 7-channel amps, because my front stage is bi-amped, so I have 14 channels of amplification. I'm using all those on my, you know, on my 7 channels, but the front stage is bi-amped, not bi-wired, but actually bi-amped. So I have 200 watts times 2 per per channel. And then I have a Furman, the Elite 20, which is my line conditioner surge protector. And you would think that this would have protected from lightning, but because we ran HDMI and power for the projector to the peak, it hit outside of the Furman. Good news is it didn't zap my $2,000 Furman or whatever the heck that thing cost. I haven't needed any external ventilation, so there are no fans in here. I also have my, my Comcast modem and my Ubiquiti network switch. I'm running a Logitech Ultimate remote control. I have had Control 4, I've had Crestron. I hate having to call some dude to like log in. I got to try to get him through my firewall and all this crap. And so I can program this on my darn phone, and it just works easier. I can control it, I can fix it. When I swap a piece of equipment, it's just way easier to do. I know this is the hokey, cheap way to do a home theater, but I'm telling you, I want to be in control. I want to fix my own crap. And so it just makes more sense to me to do it that way. The rack is a Strong. I didn't even know that was a company, but apparently Strong is now a competitor with Middle Atlantic. I'd always thought Middle Atlantic was the only game in town, but it's actually really nice. Nice setup. It does tweak me out a little bit that I have glass right here on the front stage. So I probably should build some sort of false panel, but doesn't it look pretty? And there's just nowhere. I wanted to put it over here, but the studs, I had to sort of, again, you have to make compromises. Yeah, I could rip the roof off and change the foundation for my home theater, but at some point you gotta just ship it, right? And so front stage is what are these, F208, or is that what they call them? Yeah, front F28, Revel, Performa 3. I like them. I'm a Dyne Audio fan. Dyne Audio, Sonus Faber, Vienna Acoustics. I sold Vienna Acoustics back in the day. Of course, B&W. These were a nice, Harman, inexpensive in comparison to some of those. I think these are what, $5,000 a pair or something like that. Really nice speaker, does well in theater. It's a good hybrid. When I originally planned on doing this room, I was going to do some Klipsch THX and just come here and rip my eardrums out. There's something fun about horns in a home theater because I don't really listen to music, and I sort of listened to reason and got some Revels because it's one of the few times in my life that the Theater Grand amps and these were like what I'd set out to buy, but I got a deal on them. I'm not much of a deal kind of guy, but that's how it worked out. So then the center channel is the C208, the large version, on the Revel stand. Again, bi-amped, so it's getting the highs and mid are getting powered by one channel of the Theater Grand amp, and then the bass drivers are being driven by a second channel. I had the extra channels because once you go Atmos, it kind of throws up your whole plan to have a 7-channel amp. So because I needed two amplifiers, I thought it made sense to do bi-amplify each side. So subwoofers, I know it looks ridiculous here, and I don't have to speak to you guys watching the Youthman channel, but yes, you don't need 4 18-inch woofers. I get that. Nobody does. And yeah, there's a lot of headroom here that the subwoofers are providing that I don't need. To me, it's more about making the subwoofer disappear, which of course Jeff from AccuCal did, which I lost all the settings. I should have saved them, gosh. So anyway, because that's the new CXA 5200. The other one blew up from lightning strike. So these I built. And again, I'm not much of a jank build it, do it yourself kind of guy. But to do 4 captivators in here would be what, 10 G's? And I know you think I'm made of money, but I work hard for it. And I do want that someday. But these I actually built for my garage. This is a Ultimax in a Parts Express box that I built myself. And they actually sound pretty darn good. Your probably frequency response is probably 22 hertz up, whereas a JTR is going to get you 10 or 12. I don't know that you can really recognize that in a 16 by 18 room, and certainly the frequency response on these is not going to be as accurate, but they do pretty well. And then bringing them inside the front stage here versus having the giant JTR sub in the corner A lot of you may have seen me unboxing the 4000 ULF. I had one of the first ones. So the giant 4000 ULF in the corner was very corner heavy. And so the sub was too directional for my liking. And so this setup looks cool, sounds pretty incredible. Again, we're running these at like volume, 10% or something like that. And you just need to be careful when doing a lot of big subwoofers that doesn't overpower the whole room. But having this helps blend. Okay, so the wiring, we'll take you around back and show you what the front looks like, but I might as well show you the rest of the speakers since we're at it. I have what are the model? I think these are S206, I think they're called. So the grills on these aren't super easy to get off, but I think I have them set up in bipole configuration. You guys can yell at me about that, how they're set up, but 7.1, so I have the 2 side surrounds, 2 back surrounds. Originally, I had the room symmetrical, perfectly set up, but when I did the rack, it shifted a little, and so I lost symmetry, so we're just doing that all in whatever the Odyssey auto calibration is set up, and setting up my distances, because this is the seat I generally sit in. So the center channel on the center of the screen, center of the projector is right on this plane, which, my speakers, the whole room was shifted about a foot to the right before, is why you see the 7.1 kind of funky. And then right overhead, we have C283s, I believe, Revel Performas, all timber matched, so all the speakers are part of the same line. I'm a sucker for having timber matched speakers so that they all have the same sort of tonal characteristics. So the overhead, the height channels, so we have sort of front and back Dolby Atmos, so we have our 0.4 configuration, and these are just housed in the ceiling. I didn't build a box or anything like that. But the Atmos setup is pretty incredible. This accomplished what I wanted, which was me sit in a room, have it rip my face off. But of course, one of the biggest problems with a room like this, especially with windows and things like that, was acoustically, it was a bit of a mess. And so I called GIK Acoustics out of Atlanta and asked them to help me set up the room. And so what you see in here, acoustically, it's funny when you have regular people come in, they're like, oh, all those speakers? I said, no, I wish, but they're acoustic treatments. And so this and that on the other side take care of our first standing wave, or I guess our first reflection point. And what you do, if you haven't seen anybody do this, is you take a mirror, you sit in the main location, somebody takes a mirror, and when you can see the tweeter, then that's where your first reflection point is. And then the second reflection point would be from the speaker on the left. And so that's what these two, of course, have the window in the way, so I had to do some floor standing versions. This is just an extra one here that I had that was where the rack is. They suggested corner soffits. I would have loved to have done corner soffits in the front of the room, but there wasn't enough room. And so these are their standard size with a custom, I think, 20-inch we needed to get in order to get this reach the entire ceiling. And then these are what are called their monster bass traps. These are, I believe, they're called the 242 bass traps, and these are the monsters with a built-in. There's actually a scatter plate in here, because one of the risks of doing too much acoustic treatment is you end up killing, or you make the room sound dead. You lose any liveliness. I'm very sensitive to bright, so it's gonna be weird for me to buy clips, right? But I'm very sensitive to bright, obnoxious sound, and so I like to make it. I made it a little bit more dead than normal, but having the scatter plate in these monster bass traps made a big difference in keeping some liveliness to the room, and then having the cloud. So I've got the 3 overhead here helps to help with echo on the ceiling, and then GIK sells those cloud brackets. I forget why, but there's some acoustic reason why you would detach this from the ceiling. The lighting here is garbage. Don't ever do this. I pulled the ceiling down. This had tongue and groove ceiling in here. I pulled the ceiling down and re-drywalled it, and I decided to do just J-box LED fixtures. The Problem is, nobody makes a high quality J-box, whatever you call it, recessed type. And so this is my third try, and these lights are garbage. This is supposed to be 3,000 Kelvin. It looks more like 2,200. So don't do that. Make sure you just put the actual can in. And I would suggest you do a Cree KR6s or something like that in your theater. I don't like sconces. I don't like weird rope lighting. I don't want some neon sparkle stuff. Forgive me. I don't want any ambient lighting. I just want to frickin' turn the lights off and have the room disappear. This was my biggest mistake from a future kids going to college perspective, is these are Lutron Serena. And I hired a company that had just started selling them. And so these Lutron Serena shades with the blackout channels cost me, I don't even know how much, but I don't want to remember, something like $6,000 or something ridiculous. But it's powered by Lutron Caseta, and so it'll get dark on you here, but they're silent, battery powered, and then the channel gets us almost blacked out. One of the other things that's on my agenda, which I'm sure most of you have in your home theater agenda, your punch list, is to caulk the seams here. I just haven't done it yet. We'll do that when we paint the room black. But these also help acoustically, take away the reflection, but they're pretty magical. I still haven't changed the batteries. It's been 3.5 years. But it's a pretty nice, although it cost me a fortune, they probably don't cost as much as I paid for them. They're really expensive, but really, really nice option. And so that's the room, that's the setup. It's pretty rip your face off, as you might imagine, especially with 418s in a 16 by 18 room. It's pretty awesome. So this is the catch-all of the old gear, right? This is my old Sound Advice days. Remember, if any of you, sold AV or have sold AV, there's something called accommodation. They want the salespeople to own the stuff. And so these are Monitor Audio GR60 gold reference that are actually pretty awesome to be in this little room. I end up using this room way more than the home theater. But these things are pretty awesome for, for a second room setup. See, look, they're old enough that you can see the difference in shade from sitting in the sun, I guess, probably. This is a JL Fathom F113. So I got some pretty legit gear in here. I didn't even think about that. It's funny, we actually sold this house. We're moving soon. And the lady who bought the house was like, I want this room just as it's set up. And I said, I don't think you understand what we got here. You got a $5,000 subwoofer in the corner. Of course, I would have sold it to her at a discount if she wanted to buy it, but this is kind of the catch-all for all my old stuff. And so Ref 200.7 B&K still kicking from, I think I bought that in 2000, maybe 2001. Marantz AV8802A that I had in the other room. These are the AC Infinity front firing fans. These things are pretty sweet. I think you did some reviews on the channel on those, is why I bought them, but I kept having some clipping and it was just overheating in here, and so these fans are fantastic. I just had them set at temperature sensing, and they just turn on whenever we need. This is an old HTS 5000, Monster Power Conditioner. Used to sell those for $500 back in the day. The gold reference matching center. And then this setup in this room is 5.1. I just took those are bipoles, I believe. Those are silver FX rears that I just put on the ceiling because there was already a hole there from the in-ceiling speakers. They had some Bose Lifestyle garbage in here at one point. And then this is the Sena C8 77 OLED, ISF calibrated by Jason Dustel. And yeah, this is a pretty cool little room. I spend most of my time sitting right here shopping for more AV gear and car parts right in this spot, watching binge watching something. Right now I'm on a Survivor kick. So I'm watching like 2005, 2006 Survivor episodes and 480i. It's like all grainy on the 4K display. This I also have my old Logitech Harmony remote in here, and that's how this room is set up. It sounds pretty good for what it is, and certainly the video quality in here is pretty awesome. And then I have, like I have in the home theater, just Apple TV 4K which does all of the sort of handling of all the streaming and watching. I don't even have a Blu-ray player in here because we generally don't watch movies in this room. So this is the favorite part of my entire electronic setup in my house. This is a Bose LS28 Series 2 in white. It's not even an LS35. This is a superior sounding LS28. I did not buy this. This was in the house. So look at this beauty. Look at that right there. It's some variant of non-Dolby Digital surround sound. But I do have an HDS 5000 there. Look, I got another one in there. And then I have the backup one in case this one blows up. And then we've got the beautiful LS28 satellites. You're gonna love this. The subwoofer is up there in the wall. So they built a cavity in the wall with that little vent. And it actually, I hate to say it, Bose, no highs, no lows, or no highs, no lows must be Bose. Well, it actually sounds pretty decent in here. And then it has the Bose, they had back in the day, they had those are the LS28 satellites in the little, they had like a little pocket thing that you could do it in wall. I didn't even remember those. Look, they're starting to turn yellow. So this was in the house when I moved in here. It actually had lifestyle systems all over the place. And man, the speakers sound terrible. So there was an LS35 in that room that we just came out of, and then there was the LS28. And I've been praying for it to die, and it's 15 years old and just keeps on kicking. So out here is, one of the reasons why we bought the house, and the kids spend a lot of time out here. Me being super whitey, I stay underneath the covered area. But this is a 75 Sony LCD. I just don't like, I'm supposed to call it LED. It's not a LED, people. You guys know this. It's an LCD with an LED backlight. But I think this is an X90F. I think the same thing. So I have the 65 on that wall, 75 here, and I just did it. And I sold the house. But LCD out here works much better than an OLED because of the glare. And then we have, I forget the model number, but these are the BMW outdoor speakers. So there was all Bose out here, and the Bose was acting up, and so we just swapped over to the Sonos amps. These communicate, it has the Sonos line level, wireless connection back to the Sonos amplifier, so we can play, YouTube TV and stuff like that out here. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's another pair out here, 5, 6. So we have 3 pairs of B&Ws that kind of fire out onto the pool deck. I didn't do any external subwoofers or anything because, again, I don't spend a lot of time out here, and my kids don't care. When Kate's watching JoJo Siwa, she doesn't really care about, having fidelity. But it does rock out here pretty good. Sounds pretty decent. So because the house had the Bose like lifestyle distributed audio system in here, we chose to do the Sonos wireless because there's no volume controls or anything in the house. We didn't have Cat 5 run anywhere or Cat 6, and so there's a pair of 8-inch B&Ws in here, and then there's a pair in the master bedroom. That's really the only place. So the pool deck, the master bath, and the master bedroom are like where the audio is for the house. And I'm not a big distributed audio guy. Like my new house that I'm moving to has some speakers all over the place, has a Control 4 system, which I'm probably going to hate. But we do use it occasionally, but not very often. So we have I have internet, a beam. See the nano beam right here. So I have a Ubiquity network. And so rather than having 2 Comcast, subscriptions or whatever you pay monthly, there's a Ubiquity nano beam that sends, I think it's 550 megabits per second throughput, that as long as it has line of sight, and so we get about 500, 450 megabits per second out to the pole barn out here is how we have it set up. I used to have remember the Panasonic VT50? Like the flagship plasma I used to have out here. I took it out because I'm always making videos, so I was never watching stuff. But I have some cool little 3.1 setup out here that I've had for years. Oh shoot, I got a mess in here. This will show the real life. I'm lightening up. In my old days, Maddie would have had this all prepared for you and clean. Look at this, it's like a mad scientist. I pulled apart this is like the most amazing pressure washer on the frickin' planet. Well, I pulled it apart to service it, and so that's what we were seeing, and then I needed some retainer clips, and so I had to, wait for it. But this is, normally it's, it's ace. But yeah, whatever. You get to see real life. So out here is forgive me, I'm tearing apart my learning how to service my really fancy pressure washing system out here. So I damaged these little clips because I didn't have the right tool by doing one of these deals. And think of this as like this is the piston, and this is your whatever you call it, the cylinder wall, and I just jacked that up, so I had to order some new pieces. But this is where I used to have the 65-inch plasma, and so I have a Dyne Audio Excite. So I'm the only idiot would have Dyne Audios out in my pole barn. But it's a 3.1 setup, and then I have a JLE sub down here, a little E112, and then this beauty is my old AVR, AVR 307 from B&K. You old school guys remember those; they were magical. Too bad B&K went out of business. Then I have my Ubiquity network switch here, and then the wireless access port up on the access point up on the ceiling. And then what I generally will do is to just have a what is this? I forget which brand. Outlaw Audio BTR 200, just a Bluetooth receiver, and I'll just use my iPhone and jam out here whenever I want to. And it carries pretty well out into the wash area. But this is a dedicated wash bay where when my pressure washer's working, I have a boom pole and I can, wash cars and work on my bike and do all the fun stuff that, people do. And then, like I do stuff like this. You guys, home theater guys, will probably appreciate where we're doing this kind of drawer organization and stuff like that. So this is what I spend a lot of time playing with, this kind of organization and stuff. Figure you guys would get a kick out of that. And I'm testing some new Milwaukee stuff. Yeah, so this will be, once I get those parts, I'll have this all cleaned up. But what I'm doing is a seal kit. So you have to replace the seals every so often. And I'm just testing out, seeing if the plungers were good. And then, of course, I didn't have the right tools. And then I had to order this part that I damaged. And so this has been out of commission for a couple of days. So my cars are dirty. It's the disaster. So that's the E92 M3. That is a $150,000 Honda Civic. Yeah, so it's no joke. This was my car when I was 19 years old, 20 years old. I got one of these, not this exact one, but I got one of these. This is one of the nicest ones in existence. Has 27,000 miles on it. I put every part and piece I'd ever dreamt of on this thing. It has a $26,000 stereo in it. So it has Dyne Audio, ESO-TAR woofers, ESO-Tech tweeters, Illusion Audio subwoofers, a giant Moscone amplifier and digital processor, Sony RSX GS9 head unit, audiophile grade head unit. It's pretty sick. And then I just did a JDM ITR swap. It's like the 196 horsepower at the wheels. So this is like the car sucks because it's a Honda Civic, but this is like my boyhood dream of infinite checkbook, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a giveaway on this car, and so the people that watch my channel will buy a chance to win this masterpiece, and then hopefully so whoever gets will probably just part it out and pocket the money. But man, is it cool while it lasts. Spoon carbon fiber hood and mirrors. It's pretty cool. But the audio experience, and I'm gonna have to let you hear it, I'll go grab the keys, but the audio experience is pretty awesome in this thing. Play you some Hotel California on it. This is a B18C.
Yeah, yes. Okay.
JDM.
Holy crap. Sorry.
Gonna have Moton. Just the suspension on this was like 13 grand. I spared no expense because I know I'll hopefully get it back. But this, and you know, you can make a lot more horsepower, but this, you know, makes 196 horsepower, but it's like stock, you know, so it's, I wanted something that was like factory, just more pep. It's quick, it's fun. So that's going to be raffled off February 15th. And then in the bubble is the GT3 RS. That's my, this car is what I aspire to be as a human. This is the culmination of engineering perfection that I aspire to become. It's amazing. I love that thing. The reason it's in a bubble is because it has soy-based wires and the darn rodents want to eat it. Apparently BMW doesn't have that. If any of you are in the mountain bikes, this thing is cool. This is a Yeti SB100. What the? Yeti SB100 with full electronic shifting is SRAM AXS, so it shifts electronically. There's no wires. Yeah, from all the trail riding I'm doing on greens on the bunny slopes. But yeah, this thing is pretty sick. It's like 25 pounds, something like that, full suspension. I like cool stuff, you know. This is what I do. So you just saw that's all I got. That's my whole life. Everything I've got all in one video. It's everything I own and everything I aspire to be like my GT3 RS.
All right, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. This is just a really, really cool space. Honestly, we haven't even had a chance to demo it. We're gonna do that after this video. We're actually gonna head over to Obsessed Garage and kind of see headquarters there. Might do some filming, might not, but make sure you subscribe to the channel in case I do that. But he also shared with me that his next plan, as he moves into his new home, he's looking at some Sonus Faber speakers for his living room setup. He's looking at some Revel subwoofers, as well as some Macintosh amplifiers. And so, of course, once he gets all that built, we'll be doing another home theater tour of that as well. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to check out Obsessed Garage. I'll have links to it down in the description below, as well as all of his equipment. And as always, you guys be blessed, and we'll catch you in the next video.